And welcome back to the Bitcoin basics, blockchain basics, whatever we're calling this. I don't know what we're calling this. But welcome back. This is our next video. I'm still driving. Same shirt as the last video, so you can get the idea they're connected. And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to talk about blockchain and how the blocks are connected. And what is a blockchain compared to what is Bitcoin? Now, again, I like to use analogies. And I'm going to say this at the top of a lot of the videos. I'm trying to do a series of videos of just basic questions to answer people, and I'll make these into a series of videos and make them a playlist on YouTube, make it available on websites and such. But I want to answer basic questions so you guys have a resource and put it all in one place. So please, in the comments, please tell me if you like this idea, and also please let me know what other questions you may have. There, a little bit more. And my head's not caught off. Okay. Didn't want to cut off my head. I still have hair. All right, that's a good thing. So, next topic. All right, so now we're talking about blockchain versus Bitcoin. And I like this one because I got a good analogy for this, I believe. So, the device I'm recording on, and the devices you're probably watching me on, is a smartphone. Now, a smartphone has an operating system. Like, on Android, it's usually named for, like, types of food. Like, I know it was, like, wasn't there like, I don't know, some kind of berry, I don't know, but they named the Android, and they have like different systems. And I know that on Apple it's like Apple 16, Apple 15, you get downloads and stuff, but there's a system that runs the whole phone. Okay, that's an operating system, kind of like Microsoft Windows, or you're running your Mac. It's an operating system, but then you put apps on it. Okay, you download I don't know, YouTube, Shazam, to find a song you're listening to, maybe a banking app, maybe CoinGecko. You got all these different apps on your phone. I don't know what you have. Leave it in the comments. What's your favorite app on your phone? I'd love to know, because it's fun to learn about new apps. But I like Waze. I'm using Waze right now. Not right now because I'm driving, but you get the idea. All right. So your phone has an operating system, and you download apps to it. How does that relate to blockchain and Bitcoin? Well, blockchain is the operating system, and Bitcoin is the first killer app on it, okay? Not everybody uses the same type of blockchain, but the idea of a blockchain is that it is a technology for recording digital information. Now, that could be, that could be value of coins, or how many coins go to, who owns what coins, and who's minted what coins. That's what the Bitcoin blockchain essentially does. Although they're adding more features to it, and ordinals and such, NFTs. You could have one just for NFTs. You could have one for Ethereum. You could have one, you'd have a blockchain for your own personal records. You could have like your medical records, your dental records, that's medical, marriage license, driver's license, all that, your birth certificate, all that stuff that you would want to record, to put it on a blockchain. And then you can control, when we get to Web3, who gets to see that information, because you have the access to it, and you can share it, then take it away, and so on. So that's different. That is not where Bitcoin is at. But Bitcoin is the first killer app on blockchain. Now let's go into what blockchain is. Now, blockchain is literally a chain of data blocks. It's not a complicated name. It's just a compound word. You have data blocks, and every 10 minutes, roughly speaking, because it does change a little bit, because of the hash rate, and we're not going to get into it. It's just, for all intents and purposes, Bitcoin has a block every 10 minutes. Litecoin has 2.5 minutes. But you get to know these numbers because you know these chains. Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, there's a block created. Now, the miners, they compete to make the next block. Whoever gets the next answer to a math question whoever gets the first answer that solves the riddle, solves the math problem, gets the rights to build the next block. And because they get to write the next block, they get rewarded with a certain amount of Bitcoin. That's how the miners get rewarded. Now, not every miner gets rewarded every block, so it's kind of it's a reward system, because not everybody has the same computing power, and over time it should balance out. That's why a lot of people have mining pools, because then you get more access to more computers that run, or rigs as they call them, that mine, which increases your hash rate or your computational power, and you get to get more guesses at the math problem and get at the answer first. So there's a block every 10 minutes. If you have more questions on that and about mining, we can go into that too. Leave it down in the comments. A block, now, what the blockchain starts with what they call the Genesis block, or the first block. All right, that does not have a link to a prior block, because it's the Genesis block. It's the very first block. Some call it block 0, some call it block 1, but it's the first block. Okay, after the first block, there's a queue. There's a waiting line for like transactions. Like Jeff sent Mario a Bitcoin. Mario sent Jeff 2 Bitcoin. I sent Patrick a half a Bitcoin. Patrick sent me 2.5 Bitcoin. All these transactions that are waiting to happen, and there's a list of them. So the miners can all see this list of transactions waiting to be recorded onto the blockchain, and only so many transactions fit into the blockchain in any given block. That's called the block size. So let's just say I'm a miner and I just want to write the next block. So I said, okay, I'm going to write the next block. I decide what transactions go, probably chronologically, but I could also go with who's paying the highest fees and so on. And I put that in the next block, and I put that out there, and I write that in the next block, and I send that out to the network. My rigs do that for me because they're running the code. The code all does this for you. It's all written. It was all first documented in the Bitcoin white paper, which came out Halloween of 2008, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Halloween 2008, and then the network launched early in 2009. I write the next block. All the other miners out there validate that block is good, and they say, okay, now you can move on. Now, part of my responsibility, or my miner's responsibility, the rig I'm running, is to link that data block to the previous one. And what you do is you start with a previous hash. For you coders out there, you also may be familiar with the phrase of a checksum, but this is basically taking all the data of the block and putting it into an algorithm, a function, and outspits a series of letters and numbers, which is like a checksum. It just basically tells you the hash. It tells you, here is the hash that I used to generate for this block. Here's the resulting hash for this block of all this data that you're creating for the next block. Here's the hash for it. Put it at the bottom, and now we know exactly what the hash is for that block. So now it's kind of the signature of it, and it kind of validates that everything's good, and you got everything documented. So now, but with these, so you put the hash of the previous block in the next block. That way they are chained together. So I'm going to say Genesis block is block 0. So now I write block 1. Block 1 writes the checksum, or the hash of block 0, the Genesis block, in block 1. Now block 2 will write into it at the start the checksum of block 1. So you can follow these checksums all the way back. I keep saying checksum, sorry, hashes. I shouldn't have said checksum. That's what happens when you do analogies. Sometimes you get lost in terminology, but the data block, all the blocks are linked together, and you can trace them all the way back through time to the Genesis block by checking all the checksums. That's why you can say that you can download the entire history and all the transactions for all time of a blockchain, and you can run a node. That's what nodes do. So you can run a node that records the transactions, that supports the network. And also you can run a miner, which is doing similar things, but also that's mostly trying to guess that next answer for the problem to write that next block and get that reward. So now to wrap up, a blockchain, mic is still too hot. All right, keep lowering it down. Bitcoin is an application of blockchain. It is not the only implementation of blockchain that can be done. You can use that to store a number of different things. You could use it internally to your company for just all your transactions you've ever done, all your customer history, your CRM, your customer relationship manager, all that stuff can be recorded on the blockchain, because then it's stored for all time and you can always refer to it. Now that is a centralized blockchain if it's just for your company, just running it, let's just say you're in Topeka, Kansas, and you have a server, and you're running a blockchain that records everything. Well, that server is only there. It's not decentralized. It's centralized. But that's an example of a blockchain. Now, blockchains can be used for shipping records or supply chain, chain of custody. It could be done for, like I said earlier, medical records, or anything you want to keep for time. Even and not just financial transactions. You can use it for like history books. You can use it for real estate transactions, or who owns a deed, and transactions with a deed. So all these things that all these different like the basic fundamental is a blockchain is used to store a digital record of data for all time. It's supposed to be immutable, which means you can't change it because the network doesn't allow you to. Now, I'm not going to get into the corner cases where that's happened in the past or whatever, but that's the essential idea. And Bitcoin applies the technology of a blockchain towards storing value, and that's what Bitcoin does. So hopefully that was clear enough for you. Hopefully that was simple enough. I'd love to hear more questions, and I'll take them and I'll just start creating a list and just knocking out some videos as I drive around. So all that said, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.